Hi, my name is Owen Casey Stevens, and this is a story of how I broke the Monopoly Money Casino at a mathematics textbook company Christmas party. In the 1990s, my wife worked for Saxon Publishing, which was a company in Norman, Oklahoma, who made textbooks for high schools and maybe colleges, but they were mathematics textbooks, and they very much focused specifically on hard math. They tried to avoid things like word problems or going off on a historical tangent. The whole point of Saxon Publishing textbooks was to focus exactly and specifically on math. And for one of their Christmas parties, they took us all to a ballroom at the University of Oklahoma, and we had a dinner. And after the dinner, there was a Monopoly Money casino. And the whole point of the casino was that everyone was given, I think, $5,000 of Monopoly money. And then we would have an hour or two, I don't remember exactly how long, to be at the casino to try and win more money. And then whoever had the most money and the second most and the third most at the end of this time period got a prize. And so the mathematicians who worked for Saxon Publishing sort of all made beelines for the roulette wheel and for the blackjack table and the poker table, and they all seemed to have specific mathematical ideas they wanted to try out. I was very early in my game career at that point, and I wanted to see what all was at this casino, so I walked around the whole thing once, and I saw that they had a racetrack set up with My Little Pony ponies. And there were 6 ponies, and there were 10 spaces from the start line to the finish line, and they had a deck of cards. And so I asked them how it worked, and this is what they explained to me. At the beginning of each race, they put down a playing card for each of the horses, and that became that horse's payout if they won. So if you put down a 7, you got 7-to-1 odds. If you put down $100, you got $700 if it won. And then they had colored all 6 horses, and they had 6 colored dice, and so they'd roll all 6 dice, and each horse would move a number of spaces equal to its die. And then when a horse crossed the finish line after one of these rounds, that horse won, and if multiple horses won, they all paid out. Now, some of you who have designed games for a living are already seeing some of these significant problems here. Let me break them down very, very simply. First, the odds have nothing to do with the chance that a horse will win. In real life, the horses that are more likely to win have a lower payout than horses that are considered unlikely to win. So if you're looking at 20-to-1 or 30-to-1 odds, or to keep it simple for our terms, 8-to-1 or 9-to-1, those horses are considered less likely to win than a horse that's 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 or whatever. So you could bet on the horses that, a king was 13-to-1 payout. You could bet on that horse, and it was just as likely to win as a horse that would only pay you 2 or 3 times your bet. That was one big problem. 2, they determined all of these odds randomly, which meant there was a chance that everything on the board was paying 6-to-1 or better, which means that if you bet $100 on all of them, the worst you could do was win back your $600. So if there was 5 that were 6-to-1 and 1 that was 10-to-1, you could bet evenly on everything. And if the 10-to-1 came in, you made money. And if all the rest came in, you only broke even. Third, multiple horses could win. So if you had 2 horses or even 3 horses win at the end of a race, they all paid out. And as you look at the numbers, the odds that you have 2 or more horses win at the end of a 10-step race where everyone is moving a d6 at a time are pretty good. So I double-checked and I made sure that I understood all these rules, and they confirmed that I did. And so I waited until a moment where everything was paying 6-to-1 or better, and I took all my money and I put it evenly on all of the horses. And one of the ones that was paying 8-to-1 or 9-to-1 won, and so they gave me my money, which was more than I had started with, and they all cheered, and they were happy. And then I asked them to go again, and again, and again. Now, sometimes there weren't all horses that were at 6-to-1 or better, but with multiple payouts and frequently things being the worst being 3 times your bet or 4 times your bet, I would always put some money down just because if they had money on every horse, they ran a race. So I was trying to cycle through the bad paying races as quickly as possible. But even if the odds were only 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 as the best, if 2 or 3 horses won, I still made money. And if it was 5-to-1 and I lost, I only lost a little bit of money. So half an hour passed. I'm building up more and more money. And the nice lady who's running the racehorses for the Monopoly Money Casino had to start going to other tables to get more spare change because they were running out of money to give me. And so their manager came over to see what was going on and watched what I was doing and was apparently just mystified that I was constantly winning and making money, saw a couple of races, confirmed that we were doing everything correctly. And the main thing apparently was that they had been running this exact same casino, if they told me, for 3 or 4 years and had never had this be an issue. And I'm guessing that everyone who's really good with math always ignored the racehorses as a bad bet without seeing how far from real racehorses their setup was. So eventually, the other table started telling them they needed some of that money back. So they started writing me $100,000 IOUs. So I would give them a whole bunch of change back, and they would give me a $100,000 chit. They'd have the manager of the casino sign it. About halfway through the time, and I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 hours we were doing this, but about halfway through, one of the lead mathematicians came over from the poker table, and he was all happy, and he was talking to LJ, knew her well, and he was like, I'm up from my original $5,000 to like $30,000. And LJ was like, well, is it $250,000? And he was like, what? And so he watched what I was doing, realized what was going on, and immediately started doing what I was doing. And once he was over there, a couple of other mathematicians were wondering what was going on, and they all came over. But the fact of the matter is, since I was already up $250,000 and I knew how the system worked immediately, while he actually started getting a slightly better return than I did, my guess is that he was able to do in his head, what are your odds if you've got 3 things that are all 5 to 1 and 1 to 6 to 1 and 1 to 1 to 1? What do you bet on? Where do you put your money? But I was way up on him with a $250,000 stake. So anytime it was 6 to 1 or better on everything, I could just put down all of my money. And even if he did the same thing, even if he got a slightly better return on other things, he just couldn't catch up. So when we were done with the whole time period, they had us all go and turn in our money. We got a little signed sheet from the casino saying how much we had won. And they were saying, okay, well, we've got the results, and the number one result is it was like $2.2 million. Now, when we had started, LJ had not had any interest in betting, so she had given me her stake, and so I'd had twice as much money. And one of the other people was like, well, does he really have $2.1 million? Does he only have half of that because he had twice as much money to start? And I was like, well, so I'm happy to say that we have to split this in half, and half of it is mine and half of it's LJ's. Because the next highest person is like $700,000. So either we can just win first place, or we can win first place and second place. Either of these is fine by me. So they decided that, yeah, maybe we should only win first place, which was $50 of Godiva chocolates. But the fun part for me was just really breaking this system. It was never designed for someone to analyze it mathematically. And it was really funny to me that at a company party for mathematicians who make textbooks, I was the first person to find the weakness in the system. I did, in fact, offer to tell them how to fix it. There are lots of things you could have done. The simplest one be, you could have just said, hey, you're only allowed to bid at 1 horse at a time. That would still allow you to break the system, but not nearly as quickly, because you would be taking a risk that if your horse didn't come in a 2 or 3 hour gambling session, that would probably have been enough. But they said that it had never happened before. They thought it was a fluke. They didn't see it being an issue, so they weren't interested in any of my solutions. The fun thing for me and LJ was that we, at that point, went and got $50 of little foil-wrapped Godiva chocolates. And for the next few years, anytime anyone came and stayed at our house overnight, we put a little chocolate on their pillow. So that's the story. Thanks for watching, and I hope to talk to you all later.